Good morning. Today we are having the lecture on the topic non-pharmacologic methods of behavior management. I am Dr. Nilima Thusar, Professor, Department of Pediatrics and Preventive Dentistry, Sharad Pawar Dental College. This particular topic, behavior management, will be divided in 5 parts for you, and today I am taking the first part of behavior management. First of all, we should know what is the importance of taking this class. So at the end of the class, all the students should be able to define behavioral science, behavioral pedodontics, along with various classifications of different types of children. So the learning objectives. At the end of the class, all the final year BDA students should be able to define behavior, behavioral science and behavioral pedodontics, enlist various classifications of different types of children. Also, you should know the Frankel behavior rating scale, and you should be able to enumerate factors influencing behavior of child in dental clinic, and different types of mothers also should be described. And all these learning objectives are important and must know category. So this topic is very important for you because it is from the must know area, and accordingly the same contents are there for this lecture. Now we should know what is behavioral dentistry. Behavioral dentistry is an interdisciplinary science which needs to be learned, practiced and reinforced in the context of clinical care and community oral health care delivery system. The objectives of this science is to develop in dental practitioner the understanding of interpersonal, intrapersonal and social forces that influence the patient's behavior. The clinician accordingly should acquire the skills of appropriate behavior management with improved quality of communication and management of patients. Behavioral dentistry also teaches the practitioner that the body and the mind are not separate entities and also should focus on the patient's social, emotional and physiological dental experiences. Now, there are various definitions. What is meant by behavior? Behavior is defined as any change observed in the functioning of an organism. And behavioral science is the science which deals with the observation of behavioral habits of man. And behavioral pedodontics is the study of science which helps to understand development of fear, anxiety and anger as it applies to child in dental situations. Objectives of behavioral dentistry or behavioral management is to render the treatment effectively and efficiently, to instill a positive attitude in child and parent towards preventive dental care, to establish effective communication with the child and parent, to gain the confidence of the child and parent for acceptance of the treatment, to provide relaxing and comfortable environment for the dental team to work. Now there are various classifications of the children, and these are important to know for you because if the behavior management in the context of pediatric dentistry is that, see, pediatric dentistry is defined as an age-defined specialty, and it includes all the children of different ages. So it is expected that if a 5-year-old child is coming in the dental office, the management will differ compared to 12-year-old child. So there are different types of classifications by different authors, and we should know that. First classification we will see, which is given by Wilson in the year 1933. He has divided into different categories, that is normal or bold. Normal or bold child is the one who is very brave, cooperative and friendly. The next is tasteful or timid. That type of child is shy but does not interfere with the dental treatment. The next category is hysterical or rebellious. This particular type of child shows temper tantrum and is rebellious. Nervous or fearful child looks tense and anxious and fears dentistry. Then the next classification is given by Lancashire in the year 1970. and he has divided the children into 8 categories. First is cooperative. Cooperative means what? The child is very cooperative and friendly and does not interfere with the dental treatment. And the next category is tense and cooperative. The child looks tense but is cooperative throughout the dental treatment. Then next is outwardly apprehensive. What is meant by outwardly apprehensive is that the child usually hides behind the mother but eventually accepts the treatment. Fearful. Fearful child looks fearful by face, but considerable support is required so that the fear of the child can be overcome. Stubborn or defiant child is the one who passively resists the treatment by lashing out of the hands and the legs and does not allow the treatment to do. Hypermotive is agitated, shows screaming, kicking, etc. Then handicapped is the one who is physically or mentally or emotionally handicapped. And emotionally immature, this is the last category in which the child is very small, young, below 3 years of age, who cannot understand your language. So child is emotionally immature. In that case, the management becomes difficult. The next classification is given by Wright in the year 1975, and he has broadly divided the children into 2 categories, that is cooperative, that is positive behavior, and the next is uncooperative or negative behavior. Again, the cooperative category is divided into 3 subclasses, that is cooperative behavior, lacking cooperative ability, and potentially cooperative. Now, cooperative behavior means the child is very cooperative, and lacking cooperative ability means due to handicapping conditions or medically compromising conditions, and also due to small age, the child is unable to cooperate, the child lacks cooperative ability. And potentially cooperative means due to the presence of inherent fears and anxiety in the child's mind, the child is not in condition to cooperate, that is called as potentially cooperative. Then the second category, as suggested by Wright, is uncooperative, that is negative behavior. So in that comes uncontrolled or hysterical behavior, defiant behavior, tense cooperative, timid behavior or shy, waning type, that is complaining type of behavior, that is throughout the treatment the child will complain about the procedure and will not allow. Then stoic behavior, this is you can see in the abused children. This particular type you can see in the abused children. Now, Frankel's behavior rating scale. You are taking case histories in clinical postings in the Department of Pediatric Dentistry, right? So, here you are supposed to categorize the child in different behavioral scales, and in that this is the most commonly used scales in the clinical postings. So, in that Frankel has divided into 4 categories, that is definitely negative, negative, positive and definitely positive. Now, we should know what is definitely negative. The child refuses the treatment, cries forcefully and does not allow the treatment to do. Negative means what? The child is reluctant to accept the treatment, and there is slight negativism towards the dental treatment. Then positive is the child accepts the treatment, the child may become uncooperative, and the 4th category is definitely positive. What is meant by that? The child shows unique behavior, the child is very positive and looks forward to the treatment, enjoys the treatment and does not create any problem throughout the dental treatment. Now, the next objective is factors affecting child's behavior in dental office. Now, there are 3 types. The factors which are under the control of dentist, the factors which are out of the control of dentist, and the factors which are under the control of parents. So, factors which are under the control of dentist include obviously dental clinic environment. The dental clinic is under the control of dentist, right? So, the dental clinic environment should be warm and simulate a homely environment. The dentist should make his clinic more colorful and lively with posters, video games. Then even there should be separate waiting area consisting of different types of comics, storybooks, and different types of colorful toys should be there in the waiting area. Not only that, mothers are also accompanying with the child, so for mother there should be some cookery books. So they, why these assets are required in waiting area? Because the child should not feel bored if they are being kept in waiting area. The dental clinic should have a separate entry and exit door, and the appointment time should be short, that is maximum of 30 minutes. Especially morning appointment should be given for small children. And because if you are giving lengthy appointments, then what will happen? There should be the mind set up for the children that they may become restless towards the termination of the complete treatment procedure. So these should be taken care of. Then waiting area and play room should be enjoyable. Then next is the effect of dentist activity and attitude. Now according to Jens, this can be improved by having proper data gathering and observation, structuring, externalization, empathy and support, flexible authority, education and training. Then also includes effect of dentist attire, presence or absence of parents in operatory, and presence of an older sibling. So now we will see one by one what is meant by data gathering and observation. So here data gathering is in the form of formal or informal interview, or it may be in the form of written questionnaire, and also observation. What is observation? Observation includes the supervision of the child as the child steps into the dental clinic. When you are taking cases, at that time also you are supposed to observe the child. Then structuring. Structuring means what? It refers to establishing certain guidelines and rules set by the dentist and his team for the child, so that the child should know what is expected and how to react. For example, if the dentist explains to the child in the language that the child understands properly the importance of dental treatment and its purpose, so the child becomes aware how to react during each phase of the treatment. Then what is externalization? Externalization means it is the process by which the child's attention is focused away from the sensations associated with the dental treatment, and there are two components of externalization, that is distraction and involvement. So the objective is to interest the child and involve the child at the same time, and not to let him engage in the verbal and or motor discharges which might interfere with the necessary dental treatment procedure. Now the next is empathy and support. What is empathy? Empathy is the capacity to understand and to experience the feelings of another without losing one's own objectivity. And dentists should not totally get engrossed in the technical aspect of the procedure. They must have the sensitivity and capacity to understand the child's feelings, and how he can achieve? He can achieve by permitting the child to express their feelings without rejection, communicating with the child that their reactions are understood, then comforting the child whenever required, encouraging the child when they show acceptable behavior, and listening to the child's comments when they wish to do that. Next is flexible authority. Flexible authority includes compromises made by the dentist to meet the needs of the particular patient. Then is education and training. The dentist should implement a program that should focus on educating the child and parents as to what constitutes good dental health and which stimulates them to make the behavioral changes necessary to achieve these goals. Effect of dentist attire. If the child has previously experienced a stressful situation which includes a physician white coat has given a painful event for the child, then the mere presence of the person in white clothed manner will be sufficient to evoke that type of again negative behavior. So that should be taken care of. Presence or absence of parents in operator. So to decide whether the parent should be allowed in dental operatory or not, this depends on the behavior of the child, parents and dentist. Mother's presence is essential for preschool child and handicapped child, etc. An older child does not require the presence of mother. This is because of the emotional independence of the child as the child grows older. And the dentists, they themselves feel comfortable if the parents are waited in the reception area or in the waiting room. So they themselves will not prefer for the presence of the parents in the operator, but in some certain situations like if the child is small or handicapped or medically compromised where you cannot properly do the treatment, then you should allow the mother in the dental operator. Presence of an elder sibling. Now it is said that an older sibling acts as a role model for a younger child in dental situation, and this depends upon the age of the child. So presence of another sibling, older sibling, has a little effect on behavior of 3-year-old child, and there will be no effect in if you are having 5-year-old child in the dental operatory, and the most noticeable effect you can see in case of 4-year-old child. So most noticeable effect you can find in 4-year-old child. And there is sibling relationship also. Older sibling always will have an influence on the behavior of the younger sibling, and this you can very well see in the dental office. Now the factors which are out of control of dentist are growth and development, nutritional factors, past medical and dental experience, genetics, school environment and socio-economic status. So growth and development, we will see the factors one by one. Growth and development. If there is any deficiency, in the physical growth and development or congenital malformations, for example cleft lip and palate will be there, then the child will become aware of this deformity, and this increases as it leads to psychological trauma due to rejection by the society. Also mental retardation, epilepsy, cerebral palsy, all these make the child mentally handicapped, and also the child has a feeling that the child is not performing as per the requirements of the society and that of the family. Hence, there obviously will have an influence on the cognitive development of the child. So there will be failure of cognitive development, and that's why the alterations or variations in the behavior will be expected in those cases. Also, a very young child reacts very differently and may have a response which is different from that of the mature the child. And it is said that as the child grows, the behavior of the child also improves, and there is tendency from the negative to positive behavior as the child grows older. And it is said that the intellectual age of 3 seems to be the point in the developmental progress that signifies the emotional and the maturational readiness to accept the dental treatment. Then the next factor is nutritional factors. Now, the studies have shown that increased intake of sugar causes irritable behavior and hypoglycemia causes criminal behavior. It is said that skipping breakfast also leads to impaired performance, and nutritional deficiency also affects the milestones of biologic and cognitive development of the child. Then the next factor is past medical and dental experience. So any past unpleasant dental experience, prior hospitalization, sickness or surgical procedures, all these are associated with high degree of uncooperative behavior. Therefore, emotional quality of the past visits rather than number of visits are important and significant while taking the history of the child. Then genetics. Next factor is genetics. So genetics plays a very important role in psychological development of the child, and this genetic influence is again modified by environment. So it is said that there is constant interaction between the genetic and the environmental factors towards the psychological development of the child. Then the next factor is school environment. 50% of the child's development is affected by school and remaining 50% by the environment, home environment. And in the school, who is causing influence of the behavior is teachers and peers. Say they influence the behavior of the younger child. And also what happens? Seniors, they become role model for the to the juniors. As we have seen in home environment, older siblings also act as role models, and also whatever the discussions are occurring in the family members, that also is having the impact on the child's behavior. If there are discussions regarding the dental treatment among the family members, obviously this will get carried forward in the child's mind, and whenever the child is placed in that situation, then again will react in the way the things have been told to the child from the by the family members. Now the next is the socioeconomic status. Now there are two categories: high socioeconomic status and low socioeconomic status. Now the child who is there in the high socioeconomic status, what will happen? All the demands of the child will get fulfilled. Whenever the child will require anything, he will put forth in front of the parents, and they will fulfill the demands of the child. So in this case, what you are going to expect the behavior of the child? The child either may behave normally, or the behavior of the child may be spoiled, because the demands of the child are getting fulfilled whenever required, and the child knows if he is not getting anything, he may show temper tantrum, and in that situation he will get everything. So then next is the low socioeconomic status child. What is expected? Here, see, the child's demands are not properly fulfilled. The child is getting neglected. So, how the behavior of the child you can expect here is, the child looks tense here because the little attention is paid towards the child, and accordingly the attitude of the child will get affected towards the dental health. Then next, the factors which are under the control of parents are home environment, family development and peer influences, and maternal behavior. So maternal attitude of the child. Then now we will see home environment. Home is the first school where the child learns to behave, and all the home individuals influence the child's behavior, but none so much as that of the mother. For example, in case of broken family, broken home, the child may feel insecure, inferior, apathic and depressed. And it is said that mother-child relationship is considered to be as wanted. Postnatal behavior of the child depends upon the prenatal emotional status of mother. Family development and peer influences. What happens? The child is always looking forward towards his position in the family. The child also thinks about what is his status in the family. So, parental attitude also can influence the child's behavior. If there is over-indulgence by the parents, which it may lead to spoiled behavior in the child. And such type of child, you can see sudden outbursts and temper tantrums. And it is said that if there are internal family conflicts, that will also have an impact on the child's behavior. The child, you should not think that, you just see that if the child's family, if there is any problem in the mother and father relationship, then what will happen? The child can sense a disharmony in the family, and this will emotionally frustrate the child. Then maternal behavior. Maternal influence on the child's mental, physical and emotional development begins even before the birth. Somatic development of the child, of the fetus, depends on the nutritional status of the mother. Neurohormonal system of mother transfers emotions to the fetus. Postnatal behavior of the child is linked to the prenatal emotional status of expectant mother. For example, Emotional stress during pregnancy can lead to excessive outbursts and active and irritable behavior in the infant. Agents such as alcohol, smoking and use of the totipotent or teratogenic drugs also affect the child's development if these are consumed during the pregnancy. Then maternal influence on personality development. Parental characteristics are viewed as unilateral influences on the development of child, and mother-child relationship is considered as one-tailed. Most of the relevant mother-child relationship fall into two broad categories, that is autonomy versus control, hostility versus love. Mothers who allowed enough autonomy and who expressed affection had children who were friendly and cooperative. Punitive mothers and those who ignored their children did not have sons who exhibited the positive behavioral features. So, then the family development and peer influences we have seen. Now mother's behavior and how the mother's behavior is influencing the child's behavior. Now there are different types of mothers. Overprotective dominant mother will have the children who are shy, submissive and anxious. Overindulgent mothers are having the children who are aggressive, demanding, displays temper tantrums. Under affectionate mothers, they have the children who are usually well behaved but may be unable to cooperate, and they look shy, may cry easily. Rejecting mothers will have the children who are very aggressive, overactive, disobedient. Authoritarian mother will have the children who show evasive and dawdling behavior. Now we will see one by one different types of mothers. So overprotective mother. Overprotective mother, as there is close relationship between the mother and the child, both physical and emotional dependence will be there from birth to 4 years old child. Then exaggeration of love and affection has been said to show overprotection, which is harmful to normal psychological development of the child. And in that case, overprotection, it is said that overprotection you can see in overindulgent or dominating mothers, and they give everything to the child when the child wants. So the child becomes dependent on the mother, and there are various causes of overprotection. So mothers who have conceived a child after a long time, then if only child in the family, if the child is sick and handicapped, and due to financial reasons the mother is having the overprotective behavior towards the child. Features of an overprotection and dominance in the child are: here the overprotected mother does not allow the child to take the decisions on himself and does not allow to take any initiative. So mother takes active part in the social activities of the child, and the child does not learn in that case how to cope up with the environment and the problems and the anxieties of the life. So what will happen? The child obviously becomes submissive, anxious, and also fears new situations. Also there will be lack of confidence in the child, and these children may be cooperative but may be difficult to create a good rapport with the child, and they are polite, obedient and disciplined. So what is your way of management for the child is, you have to create a self-confidence in the child. You make the child familiarized with the clinic and dentist auxiliaries, and which method you will apply in the clinic is tell, show, do technique. Now the next category is overprotective, overindulgent mother. So here features of the child include the child who is aggressive, demanding, displays temper tantrum. If their wishes are not met, then the children expect constant attention and services. They are used to getting their way at home, so they are obstinate, stubborn, spoiled. Also the children, they demonstrate angry outburst, and they also try to dominate outburst, and they may be well behaved if they are controlled in proper manner in particular situation, and they may become well adjusted with the dentist. So sometimes you don't have any problem sometimes if to develop a good rapport with the child. Then the next category is under affectionate mother. Under affectionate means here the child is devoid of love and care, and there will be negligence towards the child from the mother. So under affectionate varies from mild detachment to neglect, and this may even begin during pregnancy or later in childhood. Now the features in child, you can see the child appears to be well behaved and well adjusted. The child looks shy and may be uncooperative. So it is difficult to establish a good rapport. So through affection and love, the child may respond. And what are the causes for under affectionate? Why the child is under affectionate? Why mother is under affectionate towards the child? What are the causes of under affectionate? So causes are, if the child is unwanted, if the childbirth was not anticipated, if the child's birth or the presence of the child is hampering the mother's career, if the child is unhappy because of what? Because of absence of father due to death or divorce, and therefore there will be lack of attention towards the child, and due to some emotional problems. Then next category is rejecting mother. So rejecting mother, obviously rejection means in the form of physical violence or verbal ridicule, and neglect manifests as physical punishment, violence. You can see that in case of battered baby syndrome. Then this you can see in uneducated mothers also. Mothers sometimes they refuse to spend time and money with the child. Then what happens is there will be neglect towards the child health, and not only the child's health but dental health also is getting neglected in that case. Then emotional and physical neglect also. What features you can see in rejecting mother in child is the child will be overreactive, revolting, aggressive, disobedient, overt behavior, criticized, then nag, displeasure, and what happens? There will be lack of self-esteem. The child will feel emotionally insecure. Now the management. You can develop confidence in child by love and care, and the child's demand should be fulfilled as soon as possible. So these types of features you can see, and the management also is accordingly towards the rejecting the child bearing the rejecting mother bearing the child. Now the last category is authoritarian mother. The mother in this particular case is authoritarian and has got certain norms for the child to follow, and this may vary from physical abuse to verbal ridicule. Now we should know what features you can see in such types of mothers bearing the child. There will be submission with resentment and later evasion. So evasive, then dawdling child, the child obeys the commands but with slowly and delay. The parents are not supportive to the child and rather criticize them. Therefore the children are often afraid of dentists and resist the dental treatment. The child shows a heightened avoidance gradient and seeks to evade or delay the response. So, effects of maternal anxiety. See, attitudes and mothers' experiences in family seems to have a close influence and a relationship with the mother child. Here, whatever the mother's experience and attitude of the dentistry is there, that will again have impact on the behavior of the child. So, it is said that the mothers, highly anxious mothers, may have their children displaying negative and uncooperative behavior. So, mother's reaction to dental treatment has a profound influence on the child's attitudes towards the dentistry. The mother who is explaining the dentistry the same way is getting presented to the child, and as the child grows older, whenever is placed in dentist environment, will have the same type of thinking and attitude as his mother is having. So, to summarize, dentist should focus on the patient's social, emotional and psychological dental experience and enhance the treatment delivery. And the references for this particular topic were textbook of Periodontic Shobha Tandon, textbook of Pediatric Dentistry Nikhil Marwa, then Pediatric Dentistry Principles and Practice by M.S. Muthu, Management of Children in Dental Office by Louis Ripa. This particular topic is very important, and this is from the must know area domain. So all the final year students are expected to learn this topic it should be learnt in depth, and there are some LAQs, MCQs and short answer questions which are expected to come from this area in the university exam. So this topic is very important from the must know area. Today we have covered the part 1 where we have covered the different types of children, the factors affecting the child's behavior, different types of definitions and the different types of mothers influencing the child's behavior in dental office. I think all of you must have understood this particular part 1 of behavior management properly, and in the next class then we will take the different non-pharmacologic methods. So thank you for patient listening. Thank you so much.